One of the common questions or one of the common comments that we get here on Pilya Channel is why I always use hola or hola in my introduction. And now is actually the fitting episode to discuss that. Honestly, guys, I just got used to it. There wasn't anything special about using hola. I know some of you guys have been pretty upset that I'm supposed to use mabuhay, but when I was working as a call center agent back in the day, that was how I greeted everyone, and that was set me apart from everyone, and everybody picked it up. So that was just something that got attached to me. I just didn't think that it would come to a point that I would have to explain it. So that's your answer, why I always use hola. Not just with you, but with how I compose my text messages. Anyway, the reason why I'm explaining that is because we will be discussing about Gazini and her competition from the Latin American region. Hola! You guys may know me as Tita Lavinia from Titas of Pageantry. I'm a beauty pageant enthusiast and I'm also a fashion writer for a wedding magazine. Please don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell notification button para naman updated kayo sa mga ganaps and hanash ko. Alright, so like I mentioned in the past, usually when we have Miss Universe, there are about 80 to about 90 candidates. And if one of the emerging regions in pageantry is here in Southeast Asia, of course, South America or the Latin countries, they have been doing very well for decades. I won't be able to discuss everyone because we're still waiting for a number of other countries like Dominican Republic. So I'm just going to discuss some of the really strong Latin girls who will be competing at Miss Universe. So I want to start with Miss Colombia. We do have a love-hate relationship, mostly hate, with Colombia. They've been doing pretty well, and they have had a reputation for finishing first runner-up. But that doesn't mean they're not prepared when it comes to pageantry. They are really up there with Venezuela when it comes to preparation. Now, this year, they crowned a lawyer. Her name is Gabriela Tafur. She is 24 years old. She is 5'10". She used to work for Microsoft Colombia. So that's pretty impressive. And she's being likened to Paulina. Well, the overall packaging is very Paulina. But because she is half Lebanese, a lot of people are now putting her head to head with our very own Gazini, who we all know as half Palestinian. I think I'm one of the few Filipino pageant admins out there who have been very vocal with my support for the Colombian. You're not supposed to because they're supposed to be the enemy, but I really, really like her. It's a little difficult to pinpoint her features, but with the right packaging, and I think they're going in the right direction, I think she could do really well. However, I have seen some comments on social media saying that even if she's really smart, she still needs to work on her oratory skills. Unfortunately, I'm not the best judge of that because a lot of the videos pointing out her oratory skills are of course in Spanish. So what I have observed though is that because she was packaged very much like Paulina, she really has to find her own look. And she really also has to work on her pasarela. I saw a video of her around the time of her competing in her national pageant, and I just needed more power. So we'll go ahead and discuss how Gazini levels up with Miss Colombia later on. But I think the good thing about Miss Colombia is that she looks really nice. She looks approachable. A lot of the Colombian girls, they don't really have that aura because they know they look gorgeous. They know that they're above all of us. But the good thing with Gabriela is that, yeah, she's a lot more approachable looking than the other Colombian queens. So there. I want to talk about Miss Mexico as well, because with the Mexicans, they have been struggling for years. Right after Jimenez won, they've been hot and cold with Miss Universe. Sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't. Just like their well-loved telenovelas, it's really very dramatic with the Mexicans. The organization, the way they pick their girls, the way they treat their girls. So there is always a little bit of controversy with the Mexicans. But this year, they picked Sofia Aragon. She is 25 years old. She's about 5'8" and a half. And very interesting, she is a theater makeup artist. I read in some article that she does special effects. And she's also an accomplished author. So I think that was one of the reasons as to why she was picked, because it seemed really controversial when she won. So when I was browsing through the social media platforms, or at least the Latin sites, what I heard was that, or what I read was that, they weren't so happy with her winning. There were other girls that they wanted to win for Miss Universe, but with Sofia, it just seemed that they weren't so happy with the way she was styled, the way she projected on screen, her passerella as well. They weren't so happy with it. So I kind of agree. I kind of agree with them, because her photos haven't been, well, photos that are unedited. What I mean is photos that are done outside of a studio. It just seemed that it doesn't really match with the photos that they published. So I don't know. She is a makeup artist, so she has to know that whatever styling or whatever makeup she has on, it's not working. Now with the Mexican girls, it's a little difficult to predict. You want them to do very well, but with them, they always pick girls with really strong features. They picked Andrea Toscano last year with softer features, but unfortunately she didn't do so well, because with the Mexican girls, and I don't know if it has something to do with the drama involving their preparations, they end up gaining weight right before Miss Universe. So if she can manage to center herself and not be affected with all the issues surrounding the organization, surrounding the prep work, surrounding the comments that are on social media, she could probably do really well. We have yet to really see her transform, because right now her styling looks a bit older than what she really is. So let's see. Next, I want to go ahead and talk about Miss Puerto Rico. Her name is Madison Barrios. Now, we're very familiar with Madison because Madison competed with Nicole Cordoves and Ariska, who eventually won Miss Grand International. She did pretty well in Miss Grand International, but when she won Miss Puerto Rico, she received a lot of flack for not being able to communicate in Spanish flawlessly. Now, to give her credit, she's been very honest with her limited Spanish-speaking skills, and people on her side were already saying, look, when you're in Miss Universe, that's not really gonna matter. What's gonna matter is how you answer questions in English. And I think that's one of the reasons as to why she was picked. Another reason as to why she probably won the Miss Puerto Rico crown was because she seemed really prepared. Her body was on fleek. Her gown was on point. Her styling was on point. She has the personality. Actually, Madison can go head-to-head with Gazini when it comes to using the body to create shapes. She could go head-to-head when it comes to, that little flirty nature that we see from Gazini. Is she the most beautiful for me? To be honest with you, I always say I look for bones. I look for bone structure. I feel that without makeup, Madison is a little on the plain side, and I think that has something to do with my perception of what a Latina should look like. That's my problem. That's not a problem of Madison and her team, because of course beauty, even if you're from the Latin American countries, they're not boxed in a certain feature. They're not supposed to be all dark and dusky and exotic and beautiful. A lot of them are also like quite blonde, quite European, and Madison is from that other end of the spectrum. Will she do very well? Yes, she could do very well this time. Just like Mexico, Puerto Rico standing in Miss Universe is hot and cold. They did very well last year with Kiara Ortega. So hopefully they can replicate or even go further with Madison's performance this year. Also worth considering is Panama's Mare Eliezer, who is of Indian descent, just like the contestants from Australia and Malaysia. She has a degree in international relations and economics and has a Philippine connection, guys. She stayed in the Philippines for 2 years because she attended school at the Ateneo de Davao. Venezuela finally has a new queen. Her name is Talia Olvino. She is a 19-year-old marketing student who was recently crowned as the powerhouse country's representative to Miss Universe this year. She is 5'10" and has Italian and African roots. When she won, people were quick to dismiss her because she did not exactly fit the mold of what was expected of a Venezuelan glamazon. In fact, her beauty is being compared to the likes of Casey Sayago and the current Miss World Venezuela, Isabella Rodriguez. Now, it's up to you to think if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing. It's also up to you to think whether she's your cup of tea or if she's not your cup of tea. But let me just remind everyone that we're talking about Venezuela. Venezuela is Venezuela. They will always send someone polished and they will always send someone battle ready. The very reason as to why she won, and I heard from also a lot of sources, was that she did really well during the Q&A segment. She is also in fact the answer to the criticisms thrown at the organization, who for years have been primarily focused on enhancements and physical appearances. In fact, this year, they totally eliminated advertising the measurements of the girls. So the new organization now is headed by new people. Osmel Souza is no longer part of the organization, so that's why they're making these changes. They're making their Miss Venezuela more approachable, more natural. They're focusing more on the Venezuelan capacity to speak and the Venezuelan capacity to really think. So now it's no longer just a physical wow factor for the Venezuelan organization. So we will see how they will repackage Talia, and we will see how they will fare at this year's Miss Universe, knowing that they've made some major changes in their selection process. Another country that I'm really watching out for is Dominican Republic. They have yet to crown a new queen. They will be crowning their new queen this coming August 18, and by the time this video would have been published. But I just want to put it out there that I am eyeing one of their contestants. Her name is Kimberly Jimenez. I find that she has a really beautiful face and she has killer physique. So we'll see what happens with these pageants. There's always an element of surprise, but if you have time to check her out and if she ends up winning the Miss Dominican Republic crown, I think she's going to be such a threat to everyone else and to the heavy favorites and to the countries that keep on popping up. Now, everybody is waiting for Miss Brazil. And I'm honestly waiting for Miss Brazil. Her photos are beautiful. Let's talk more about her. So Miss Brazil, her name is Julia Horta. She's 25 years old, which is the perfect age as well. She is 5'9", and she's honestly, guys, a pageant veteran. Now, for a pageant veteran, she doesn't look like a pageant patty. She's different. Her hair is a little shorter. Her body is a little curvier. her styling or her face isn't as fierce. She's more of a girl next door type. So she's really different in a way that it's easy for us to really lock into her. Now, what could be some of the reasons as to why I'm not 100% on board with her? Well, the simple reason is that I know she can do very well. But you see, at one point, she was defeated by a Filipino in a minor pageant. This was for Miss Tourism International. She placed fourth runner-up. The Philippines won with Janine Alipoon. But, you know, all of these pageant girls, they have to start somewhere. They have to do like some sort of a stepping stone with like minor pageants or even major pageants because they can do a crossover. Now, why are we thinking that this is gonna be Brazil's year? Why are we thinking that she could actually be that thorn for Gazini? The main reason is that Brazil has been doing very well. Apart from us, they've had an unbreakable streak of placing since 2011. When you're a pageant analyst, when you're a pageant enthusiast, or even a fan, you know that when countries act as bridesmaids year after year, there will be that one year that they will actually get to be the bride and clinch the crown. Brazil's issue is that sometimes they go a little wonky with styling, so if they are able to align everything, they might just do better than what they've been used to since 2011. And all eyes are on Brazil because Brazil has this weird way of selecting winners. Just like Thailand, they don't usually go for the heavy favorites. They surprise us every year with whatever picks they have, who eventually do really well. But this year, it seemed harmonious with Julia. Everyone seemed to be in agreement with her winning the Miss Brazil crown. What's the meaning of her win with Gazini? The thing is, a lot of us were really happy with Gazini's win because a lot of us are forward thinking. We're not just thinking about what happened in the Philippine setting. Candidate this is better than Gazini, candidate that was better than Gazini. No, we have to think about the international stage. And a lot of us were really happy with Gazini winning because at least we have a contestant who could go head to head in terms of facial beauty, in terms of body proportions, and in terms of pasarela. We all know that the Latinas tick all these boxes, especially body proportions and especially catwalk or pasarela. So could Gazini do better than these Latinas? She could, because yes, she has the drive to do so, and she does have a few tricks up her sleeves. I know that her training team isn't really revealing that much, and I think that's also a good thing because in this day and age of social media where everything is out in the open, it's also nice to keep a little to yourself. It's just that we feel so involved. We feel like we need to check everything. That's why it's a little frustrating for us if we feel that they're not talking about her training, if they're not talking about tweaking her comm skills preparation. But I heard from Gazini's team that they really want to keep quiet because they want to wow everyone with her surprising prep. A lot of us are not really on board with that because we've heard that before. There have been candidates before where they would say, you just have to wait because eventually she's gonna release a bomb. And then nothing happens. So hopefully, whatever it is that they're keeping with Gazini's training, hopefully she's really getting all of the best resources and all of the best people who could help her out. Still, all eyes will be on Gazini because she will be competing at Miss Universe and try to get that fifth Miss Universe crown. And if she ends up in Miss Universe looking fabulous, wowing everyone with whatever gown or whatever wardrobe she'll be bringing to the table, then it's gonna be a difficult fight for the Latinas as well. Because Gazini does have that wow factor when she's on stage. I mean, yes, personality-wise, she probably isn't like a social butterfly, but on stage, she's a monster. So if the Latinas are monsters on stage, generally, I think Gazini could, I don't know if it's a term, out-monster them. So we will see. We're going to try and see how well they do. Just like in the Asian region, it's going to be really cutthroat with the South American region. There will be sleepers that haven't been crowned yet who might just actually clinch not just the crown but at least placements that we haven't really looked into. So we will see, but I am honestly hoping that Brazil does really well this time because they've been waiting for so long and they've been paying their dues and they've been doing really well. It's not that they were waiting and they weren't doing anything or not placing at all, but Brazil is in our mind, and finally they have someone really worthy to compete for that crown. And since IMG is pretty new, I think it would be nice if they distribute the crown to, I don't know, a Latina this time. So please, if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, play nice, because a lot of you aren't. But please do comment down below. Thank you, guys.